Hi, this is William, and this is the sixth devlog for Unnatural Investigations. A lot of changes on the back end for code-wise, and a few small visual changes to go over as well. So, one of the first things is, again, we're pushing heavy towards the optimization part, at least in terms of frames per second for we do early access. And before that, we're doing alpha testing, things like that. So, trying to get it so at least it's smooth, so we can get the captures and start focusing on other things. So, to do that, we've done a number of things. So, I'll go over those and also show you the new levels. They've all been updated to accommodate for those changes. They've all been given names as well. So this is Quaid's house. All the maps, minus the cave map, are considered small. Well, let's get into the optimization changes. Still running under 60 at sometimes, above at others. Levels are still going through their optimizations in terms of that, but we're well past our goal of 30, at least for alpha and beta and early access, but still pushing for 60. Side note for some of that is, unfortunately, some of our most of our systems are, not the next in or the top line graphics cards. We've had issues even locating any decent graphics cards, so that's another thing that'll be ironed out later. So your experience may vary. This particular rig here is two 1080 Ti's and SLI, but unfortunately with SLI pretty much dead. This is basically one 1080 Ti, so it runs quite well. But yeah, so we did we temporarily removed the fog. That's why you won't see the fog, which made the areas a bit darker, which we do want it dark. Fortunately, it's not going to transfer well over in the video, unfortunately, but it's not as dark when you're actually playing it. But the darkness is one of those things that we'll continue to tweak. But to compensate for losing the fog, it is a little bit darker, but you do get about 15 to 20 frames better. Nothing's really changed with the house layout. The textures scaled back a little bit. I did have it set to 4K. It's back to 2K. Not much of a difference. It's dark area, so you're not gonna really be seeing much of it, so it doesn't affect it as bad. Trees have been updated a little bit, more creepier trees. I do have to tweak some of them though to help with the LODs. Help. A lot of the issue with the area is essentially the terrain out there. You notice when you go in the house, it's like 60 frames because you're not rendering all that foliage. But have updated that. I did take out a few systems that I normally use in most of the games I work on, like grass physics and things like that, where you walk through the grass and you can see it moving and stuff. Not really beneficial in this type of game. We're not taking our time to breeze through the grass, so that's removed. That's helped a little bit with the frames. In terms of additions, there are the lock chests right now, just using this default lock box. You'll pick those locks, get some scrap, and they'll be set out through the maps. Maybe more than just one. Give you enough scrap to make a few traps. Nothing else is really. I see this one right there, another one over there. Just enough to get going on that. All right, let me tweak over to the next level here. There are 4 levels now. We had 3 before. I was gonna just go with 3, but now that I'm going with a kind of a set level size and layouts in terms of how wide the levels are, I'm gonna go with a few more. This one's a newer one. This is the old church. Again, none of the levels are like final in terms of how their terrain and trees are gonna be laid out. But they're all set up good for what we're going for alpha and things like that. This is just old abandoned church. Eventually I'll have like old pews and altars and things like that in here. And there will be other light sources. Light sources do tend to reduce reduce frames, but we're going to optimizing that as we go. That's one level, 2 more. The cave level really hasn't changed much except for the starting of it, which I'll show you. Used to start kind of outside in the terrain, which was kind of a big hit too. So now, you know, you start in the cave. It's kind of like I have a rope going down with a light later. It's kind of like you kind of rappel down into the cave. Got all your tables down here, you know. You had some construction dudes come down here and build them for you. I do have these 2 tables here. Get some ammo and stuff. Right now, it's just for testing the demos. I mean, essentially play testing levels because you could run out of ammo. Another thing you'll notice too at the top left, I've actually done the mini maps. They work better in areas like this, the cave area where you're essentially, well, 2 things. Well, as long as the cave's not over and under, and since it's dark, you can get a good look for the cave, like the path and stuff. It doesn't work as well in like the house areas and all. I mean, because the map doesn't differentiate from floor levels or anything like that. So, you know, if you go up and down, you won't get those kind of breakdowns. But again, the mini map wasn't a main feature. It was just something that we had and we put in. Normally I wouldn't have included it, but yeah. Right, and the last level is the other house, which is gonna be named Bert's house. Thought it'd be some funny names like that. Old Bert's house is the one with the basement, I believe. A lot of trees. Alright. Old Bert. Yeah, basement Bert. These little particles here are, well, not optimized at all, so they'll be going. It's kind of a little cool effect, but they really hurt the frames. But yeah, those are the changes to help make it run smoother, which it runs like well. It runs on laptops. We have nothing we've ran it on hasn't been able to play it. I mean, we had to reduce the graphics settings, but for the most part, it all runs quite well. Did update the journal here with the clues you found here, and then you can kind of, right now again, the body clue is pretty easy. It'll tell you exactly what it is, but the other 2, like for instance, like well, another thing to call out while I'm working here is the leveling system isn't fully implemented, and we're not going to implement it until after, well into early access, and that is so we can, you know, get everything right, because it's a system that it's not complicated to create, but it's better to create once we have all the stats and stuff that we want to do. So to compensate for that, like pretty much all the levels and stuff are maxed. So what that means is when you're doing like searching the body or talking to the ghosts and things like that, it's like you're the highest level. And that's again to, first off, during early access and our alpha tests and beta tests and stuff, we want to focus more on the actual systems and finding bugs and implementing new things than you know, having you have to spend too long to do something. So talk to this dude. Yeah. Alright, another thing too, might not be able to hear, I have the volume turned down on the actual game part, is we do have voice acting in, voiceovers in for a lot of the ghosts and the demons and stuff, so it sounds pretty cool. And see, what you'll see is something like this. Couldn't resist the temptations too much. Now that doesn't really tell you what it is just by looking at it, but if you go here, I know what they are because I created them, but that's like mesmerizing. Like, they were mesmerized, so essentially like a vampire or something got them. This is something that'll go through many changes because it's easy for us to create these things, but we know the answer. So we're working on a lot of different ways to have subtle hints that generally direct you in the right direction. Not completely straight up like the body clues. However, the body clues are a bit different because you're taking them to a research table and you're pretty much finding out the chemical things of them. So those are going to be nearly straight all the time. You know what that clue is. So it's kind of like give you a good clue to get. The other ones, however, are a little bit more a little bit subtle. So those will be things that we're working on. Trying to think. There's nothing else that I can visually show. Like I said, a lot of the code's changed on the inside just to make things run smoother. Yeah. So if you like what you see, obviously like and subscribe for more. We'll continue with these updates. Um, if you want to be, if you're interested in alpha and beta tests, we'll be doing those soon. And to get access to that, you'll have to join the Discord, which is new. So obviously, if you join, you'll be one of the first. So you'll have other perks too. We'll figure out something cool for that. But yeah, that's where we'll be having key giveaways as long as beta tests as well. Yeah, thanks again for checking out the video.